The immigration debate leading to new arrests in the Valley tonight. This is a live look at a vigil at the 4th Avenue Jail in downtown Phoenix. Protesters gathering outside waiting to see what happens to 9 other protesters currently inside being questioned by officers. And this was the scene downtown about 3 hours ago when those arrests went down. The trouble started when hundreds of people rallying against SB 1070 marched to the ICE building on Central Avenue and blocked the road. Air 15 overhead when traffic and the light rail came to a halt. Phoenix riot police showed up and quickly pushed the protesters back, but this group tells us if SB 1070 is not struck down by the Supreme Court, their next protest will be bigger and much more aggressive.
If you saw what happened here today, it's going to escalate because we're not going to accept the Supreme Court or anyone saying that this law stands.
Sometimes laws, they may be law, but they're not always right.
And this all stems from what we're following in Washington, D.C. U.S. Supreme Court justices showing sympathy for SB 1070. ABC 15's Steve Irvin is there with what's next.
For opponents of SB 1070, this was the 9th inning with 2 outs. They were hoping that this would be the case that finally overturned that controversial immigration law. But they leave Washington tonight disappointed, feeling that the government didn't really make its case. Protesters converged on the Supreme Court, hoping the controversial bill, which has evoked fear and anger among Latinos, would finally be struck down. But inside, the legal battle was turning in favor of the law itself. Justices hammered away at lawyers for the Obama administration. The feds claimed the law preempted federal immigration law, and justices clearly weren't buying it.
When you have a justice like Justice Sotomayor, when she's telling the Solicitor General, hey, you're not selling this well, that's a big red flag.
The justices even admonished the feds for inserting fears over racial profiling into a legal argument. For the framers of SB 1070 and the governor who signed it, it was cause for celebration, though not an outright victory.
This is an election year, and I believe that it was staged at the time, that they knew that this was coming up, and they're playing to the Latino community.
But even after the court makes its ruling, there are clear signs the battle isn't over. Opponents of SB 1070 say they're already working on new legislation to overturn the law and make it illegal in other states. The Supreme Court isn't likely to make its decision until sometime in late June, and it could be a mixed decision, which could strike down certain provisions of the law and leave others intact. Meantime, opponents are already planning their next move, possibly new legislation which would outlaw bills like SB 1070. In Washington, Steve Irvin, ABC 15 News.
The Supreme Court decision, obviously something affecting people all across the country, and you can count on ABC 15 to keep you covered.